Hi, Radiant Leo. Let me ask you something bold. What if the person who tried to dim your light was never really a threat, because you were protected the whole time? If you're watching this right now, it's not by chance. Something far greater has brought you here. Whether you clicked this video in curiosity, confusion, or quiet pain, it's no accident. This moment is a divine appointment. A sacred pause between chapters, where something hidden is ready to be revealed, and something broken is ready to be healed. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, the home of healing insight, intuitive wisdom, and divine timing. Today's deep dive horoscope is not just about what's ahead, it's a mirror for your soul. And dear Leo, this message is especially for you. There was someone who once tried to control, belittle, or even spiritually wound you. Maybe they did it with words, maybe with silence. Maybe they envied your light so much they tried to steal it, or worse, convince you it was never yours. But here's what they never understood: you don't need permission to shine. And now, their energy is gone. Truly gone. Removed from your field, your space, your destiny. What's left is power. Your power. You see, Leo, you've always had that lion-hearted courage, but you've also carried wounds that were never yours to begin with. And for a while, you may have dimmed your own light, just to make others feel more comfortable. But Spirit wants you to know, that part of your story is over. The spell is broken. The karmic door has closed. And in its place, a new portal is opening, one that leads straight back to your throne. So before we go further, I want to take a moment and thank you. Truly. Thank you for being here, for showing up, for yourself. Every like, every comment, every subscription you offer doesn't just support this channel, it amplifies this healing space, allowing us to send these messages of transformation even deeper into the world. Your energy is felt. Your presence is sacred. And your light? Unstoppable. And trust me when I say this, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of this video. What the universe is about to reveal to you is not just a horoscope, it's a cosmic unveiling. A realignment. A moment of powerful remembering. Now tell me, my fellow lions, what sign or number has followed you lately? 444? 999? A face in a dream? Drop your angel number in the comments, and let's affirm this soul contract together. Because this isn't just astrology. This is your energy being restored. This is your truth, roaring back to life. Sometimes, the most powerful transformations begin in silence, not when we fight back, not when we demand closure, but when we simply choose to release. After everything we explored together just moments ago, you may already feel that quiet shift in your chest, the loosening of an invisible thread, the subtle exhale of something that no longer belongs to you. This is not about letting go of a person, it's about freeing your energy from a story that never deserved to hold you in the first place. There was someone who tried to diminish you, not because they didn't see your light, but precisely because they did. And the truth is, not everyone is prepared to stand in the presence of someone who radiates so naturally. Sometimes, people react to light not with awe but with fear. And in their fear, they reach for control, manipulation, or silence. But Leo, your light was never for them to handle, contain, or define. It was never their role to decide how big you could become. That person is gone now. Whether physically, emotionally, or energetically, they no longer have access to your field. What remains is your decision. Will you keep holding on to what they said, what they didn't say, what they did, or didn't give, or will you finally reclaim your peace? Because peace is not something the world grants us, it's something we remember we already have. And remembering is the first act of liberation. The Death card appears not as an ending to be feared, but as a sacred invitation into something new. It says, this version of you, this dynamic, this shadow, this loop, it has served its time. Now let it rest. The Five of Swords reminds us of the battles that may have once seemed necessary but have long since lost their purpose. And justice arrives like a quiet, undeniable truth. Balance is being restored, not through revenge, but through release. There's a teaching that says when you truly understand that everything is impermanent, you stop clinging. And when you stop clinging, you stop suffering. Not because pain doesn't exist, but because you no longer identify with it. And maybe that's the heart of this moment for you, Leo. You're not the pain. You're not even the version of you who was hurt. You are the space beyond that, the witness, the strength, the clarity that rises once the dust settles. This is the karma clearing. Number 13 shows up here not as misfortune, but as a symbol of majestic transformation, one that strips away what no longer aligns, so something authentic can emerge. The number 8 whispers of balance returning, of cycles completing. And 17, the star, is the promise that what's ahead is not just lighter, but brighter than you could have imagined while trapped in the storm. You don't need to know why they acted the way they did. You don't need their apology, their explanation, or even their awareness of what they caused. Their part in your story is over. What matters now is this: do you want your energy back? Your clarity? Your power? You can have it, by choosing to drop what you never truly needed to carry. Forgiveness here is not an act of weakness, it's an act of great inner authority. It's saying, I choose me. Not out of pride, but out of deep self-respect. When you forgive, you're not saying it was okay, you're saying you're no longer letting it define you. And isn't that what freedom really is? So, Leo, if the cords are already fraying, let them fall. If the fire inside you is stirring, don't quiet it down for anyone's comfort. This moment belongs to you. Let go with intention. Walk forward with grace. Because the person who once tried to suppress your light is gone, and now, there's nothing left between you and the sky. Not everything that dims your light is obvious at first. Sometimes, the heaviest shadows aren't cast by strangers, but by the people we once loved, trusted, or allowed too close to our inner flame. And as we explored earlier, the person who tried to shrink your power is no longer part of your energetic field. But even in their absence, the residue may linger. The imprint of emotional weight doesn't just disappear. It settles in the spaces where we once opened our hearts the widest. This is why now, more than ever, your spirit is calling for a reset. Leo, you are fire, yes, but not just any flame. Yours is heart fire. That courageous, expressive, radiant force that burns with purpose and warmth. But when that fire is tampered with, not by direct attack but by slow neglect or subtle manipulation, it begins to flicker. And that flicker becomes confusion, fatigue, even silence. What we're doing now, what you're being invited into, isn't just about clearing energy. It's about restoring your sacred inner vitality. Reclaiming the strength that doesn't roar, but glows steadily and unmistakably. Cleansing, in this moment, is not an escape. It is presence. It is the act of pausing to acknowledge what still clings to the corners of your space, physically, emotionally, energetically, and saying, with full awareness, you no longer belong here. Not as resistance, but as release. Just like a lion shakes its mane before standing tall again, you too are being asked to shake off the dust of the past, gently, but deliberately. In the language of the stars, the Hierophant appears here to remind you of your deeper values, those internal codes of honor, dignity, and wisdom that were never meant to be silenced for the sake of someone else's comfort. The Ace of Wands shows us the new beginning sparked the moment you decide to light your own flame again, without waiting for someone to offer you the match. And Temperance? She brings the grace. The reminder that healing does not demand force. It unfolds in rhythm, like breath, like sunrise. Think of it this way, just as the body needs nourishment to sustain itself, your energy body also needs conscious tending. Just as a garden blooms with sunlight and space, so too does your aura when given the right rituals. Lighting a golden or orange candle isn't a performance, it's an invocation of your personal sovereignty. The scent of cinnamon or sandalwood doesn't just fill the air, it signals to your nervous system that you are home, safe, allowed to be fully yourself again. Even 15 minutes of sunlight each morning is more than a habit, it is alignment. It's a reminder that your vitality is not something you have to earn. It's your birthright. And as you sit in that soft light, you're not only recharging your body, you're realigning your field to something older than fear. Something wiser than pain. Writing a morning affirmation is a simple yet profound tool. One sentence can shape your whole day. One sentence can bring back a sense of center when the world pulls you in a dozen directions. Try something like, I am light. I am warmth. I am unshakable. And say it as if it were already true, because deep down, it is. You've just been waiting to hear yourself say it again. There's a natural law that says whatever we give our attention to, we give our energy to. So today, you get to choose where that energy flows. Not backward. Not toward what broke you. But forward, toward the part of you that remembers exactly who you are. Sometimes, what we call coincidence is really the quiet choreography of unseen wisdom unfolding. Maybe you've caught yourself noticing the same numbers over and over, 222 on a license plate, 555 on a receipt, 999 flashing on your screen at the most unexpected moments. Or maybe you've been waking from vivid dreams that leave you stirred, unsure why a burning house or a familiar face you haven't seen in years continues to show up night after night. These aren't accidents. They're signposts, subtle yet powerful reminders that something within you is awakening. And perhaps more importantly, that something is ready. After cleansing your space and reconnecting with your heart's fire, what often follows is clarity, but not always in the form of logic. For signs to speak, the mind must quiet. That's why so many messages arrive through dreams, numbers, or sensations that bypass the intellect and instead tap into something older, your deep inner knowing. As a Leo, this sense of knowing isn't cerebral, It lives in your body. It flares up like a gut reaction, like a quick impulse, like a subtle shift in your chest when something feels either perfectly aligned or terribly off. Your truth doesn't knock politely. It roars. The presence of repeating numbers is not mystical fluff. It's a pattern recognition mechanism hardwired into our awareness, nudging us to pause and reflect. Think of it this way: your subconscious notices shifts in rhythm before your conscious mind can make sense of them. A sequence like 555 may stir the thought, is something about to change? Not because of the numbers themselves, but because of your readiness to interpret them. In this way, the numbers are mirrors, not prophecies. They reflect your current energy, your alignment, and sometimes, your resistance. Dreams operate much the same way. They aren't linear stories, they're layered metaphors. A burning house might not mean destruction, but purification. An unfamiliar face may represent a part of yourself you've been ignoring. The dream isn't telling you what will happen, it's helping you process what has already begun. What's key is to record them, gently, without needing to decode them instantly. Meaning deepens over time, like ink spreading across paper. Within a week, what felt random may suddenly feel radiant with clarity. The moon, the high priestess, and the knight of wands, all speaking to you now, form a narrative of deep sensitivity paired with emerging action. The moon reminds us that not everything is as it appears. That intuition doesn't demand explanation, only trust. The high priestess guards the gate of inner wisdom, reminding you to listen before leaping. And the knight of wands? That's your cue to move, not reactively, but purposefully, when the signs align. There is a saying that whatever arises in the mind has a cause. And when we become still enough to observe without judgment, we begin to see how our inner world speaks long before the outer world responds. If you've been feeling called to write, now is the time. Not to produce answers, but to create space. Space for patterns to emerge. Space for thoughts to land. Space for yourself to hear yourself again. You are not alone in your experiences. What you feel, others feel too. That's why I invite you to share below. Have you noticed anything strange lately? Has a song followed you everywhere, or have you kept waking at the same hour each night? These moments, when shared, can help others feel seen. And through each other's reflections, we often find our own. This is not about chasing signs. It's about receiving them. With presence. With trust. And most of all, with the understanding that the universe never yells, it whispers. The question is, are you quiet enough inside to hear it? Momentum tends to return the moment we stop resisting who we truly are. After everything you've walked through, the energy cleansing, the awakening of your deeper senses, what begins to rise now is not just clarity, but opportunity. Tangible, practical, empowering opportunities that meet you where you are but ask you to rise even higher. There's a subtle rhythm to life that rewards not perfection, but alignment. And Leo, you've stayed in alignment with your light even when it felt costly. You held on to your integrity when it would have been easier to shrink. That energy never goes unnoticed. And now, the rewards are beginning to take shape. For many Leos, this moment may bring the return of something you once wanted but had to release, an old job lead, a collaboration that slipped away, a creative vision that seemed lost in the noise of someone else's control. But here's the shift: it's not just coming back. It's coming back on your terms this time. Not from a place of chasing, but from a place of quiet magnetism. You're not reaching anymore. You're drawing in. If you've been feeling stagnant in your career, if doors seem to have stayed shut no matter how hard you've knocked, know this: it wasn't because you lacked talent, passion, or perseverance. It's because those spaces weren't designed for your expansion. You don't bloom where you're not seen. And now, the environment is changing. Not because the world suddenly understands you, but because you stopped seeking permission to shine. There's a teaching that says a fruit ripens not because it is forced, but because it simply reaches its natural time. The Six of Wands appearing here is your affirmation that recognition is coming, not from ego, but from effort. You've shown up, time and again. The Emperor offers structure, discipline, and the ability to claim what's rightfully yours. Not in dominance, but in confident clarity. And the Ace of Pentacles? That's the seed, your new beginning in finances, purpose, or vocation, rooted in reality, ready to be cultivated. So how do you receive what's coming? With action. But not frantic, scattered energy. With thoughtful, grounded steps that signal to the world, and to yourself, that you're ready. Maybe this looks like updating your resume not just with old roles, but with who you've become. Or revisiting a passion project you paused because someone once said it wouldn't work. Maybe it's renaming your savings account to reflect not fear, but intention, something like Leo Rebirth Fund, a subtle but potent reminder of where you're headed. This is also a good time to reflect on your financial boundaries. Are you accepting less than you're worth, hoping to keep peace? Are you undercharging, over-delivering, or hesitating to ask for what you deserve? Real abundance doesn't come from effort alone, it comes from self-honoring. When you declare, "I deserve to be paid in alignment with my value," you're not just affirming wealth, you're affirming worthiness. And worthiness, Leo, is your birthright. Sometimes the greatest career move isn't a leap, but a recentering. A quiet adjustment of your energy that says, "I no longer hustle for recognition. I let my work speak. I let my passion lead. I let my joy attract." You're not here to fight for scraps. You're here to lead, to create, to inspire. And the world is finally beginning to reflect that truth back to you. Stay open. Stay prepared. And remember, what's meant for your expansion will never require your diminishment. It's remarkable how the heart continues to open, even after it's been bruised. And for you, Leo, whose love is both a gift and a force, the journey of feeling deeply has likely been one of both radiance and rawness. Loving with your whole being is your nature. But when that love has been misunderstood, taken for granted, or used against you, something inside begins to question, is it safe to love like that again? The truth is, love never stopped being safe, it was simply being offered to the wrong space, or without the boundaries needed to keep your soul anchored. You've already done the hardest part, surviving the betrayal of someone who didn't know how to honor the depth of what you gave. They are no longer present. And now, what remains is a quiet but potent invitation, not to rush into someone else's arms, but to return to your own. Where the last chapter focused on reclaiming your value in your career, this one asks you to do the same within your emotional landscape. That means redefining what love looks like now, with new awareness, new standards, and above all, new compassion for yourself. The Queen of Wands here is a reflection of you at your most confident, intuitive, and self-possessed. She does not chase validation. She radiates certainty. But she also reminds us, confidence is not armor, it's alignment. And alignment requires clarity. The Nine of Cups whispers of emotional fulfillment that begins from within. It's the kind of joy that doesn't beg to be seen but bubbles up naturally when we stop giving ourselves away in pieces. And the Two of Swords. That's the crossroad you may be standing at right now, torn between the comfort of guarding your heart and the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. Not because others have changed, but because you have. You may find that your greatest act of self-care isn't a ritual or routine, it's choosing not to explain your worth to people who were never meant to hold it. It's allowing yourself to experience moments of love, affection, and intimacy, without sacrificing your emotional center. When you take yourself on a date, when you cook something just because it delights you, or when you write a love letter to yourself without expecting anything in return, you're telling your nervous system, I am already enough. And from that place, love can't break you. It can only enhance you. There is a quiet strength in soft boundaries, the kind that don't push people away, but gently teach them how to treat you. You can still love with fire, but now you choose when to offer warmth and when to step back. You learn that not everyone is meant to see your full sun, and that doesn't make your sun any less brilliant. Much like a river carves its own path without forcing the landscape, love given with awareness creates flow without chaos. And like a tree that sheds leaves each fall but still stands tall, you are not broken because you've had to let go. You are simply more seasoned, more rooted. And that makes your love even more sacred. It's okay to be discerning now. It's okay to pause and listen before leaping. Because love, for you, is no longer a battlefield. It's a sanctuary. And the person who finally meets you there? They will do so not because you had to prove your worth, but because you finally stopped handing it away. You've spent far too long dimming yourself to make others comfortable, carrying the weight of their projections, their fears, their inability to handle your radiance. But now that energy is no longer part of your path. The fog has lifted. The noise has quieted. And for the first time in a long time, there's space for your light to return to its rightful place, unfiltered, untamed, and undeniably yours. So the real question becomes, are you ready to step back into your light without asking for permission? There's something profoundly powerful in realizing you have nothing left to prove. You don't need to over-explain your heart, your path, or your healing. You don't have to wait for someone to validate your worth. The fact that you are here, breathing, evolving, choosing growth even when it's messy, that is more than enough. You are already the living embodiment of resilience. And resilience doesn't need an audience. It only needs truth. Take a moment, right here, right now, and ask yourself gently, what would my life look like if I stopped dimming? Who would I become if I chose visibility over hiding? What would I create, call in, or walk away from, if I fully trusted that my light was not too much, but just right? These questions aren't just reflections. They're invitations. Because no matter what the past looked like, no matter who tried to make you small, the present is offering you a clean slate. A chapter that begins not with their permission, but with your decision. And maybe today, the only thing you truly need to do is say yes to yourself again. If this message stirred something in you, if you felt a remembering, a soft inner yes, then let that be your signal. Let this be your sacred return. Comment below, I reclaim my light, if you're ready to rise not from anger, not from vengeance, but from love. From peace. From quiet, grounded power. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. Your presence, your energy, and your willingness to receive this message means more than you know. Every like, every share, every thoughtful comment helps this community grow, and makes it possible for us to continue offering these moments of healing and remembrance to more souls like you. And if you haven't already, I gently invite you to subscribe and join this growing family of radiant beings at Eternal Mindfulness. We're not just creating videos, we're building a circle of transformation. One spark at a time. Remember, Leo, you don't need to roar to be heard. You don't need to fight to be seen. Your presence is the message. Your energy is the magnet. And when you walk in truth, the world cannot help but notice. So go on, take up space. Choose joy. Choose softness. Choose strength that doesn't need to shout. The stage is waiting. But the spotlight? It's already yours.